There are days when live television feels routine, almost comforting in its predictability. And then there are days when something shifts. On February 7th, 2026, viewers watching the fourth hour of Today sensed that shift immediately. The set was bright as always, coffee mugs steaming under studio lights, the audience buzzing with that familiar pre-weekend energy. But beneath it all was the heavy reality of Savannah Guthrie's family crisis. When Jenna Hager began to speak, her tone carried something different, less polished, more personal. It wasn't dramatic or theatrical, it was reflective. And in that moment, what could have been another segment became something deeper, a conversation about friendship, loyalty, and the complicated ways women hold each other up during unimaginable strain. Jenna, at 44, a woman in her own season. At 44, Jenna Hager stands in a season of reinvention. She has grown from first daughter to author, educator, mother, and television host, with a voice distinctly her own. The golden curls and easy laugh remain, but there's a steadiness now that comes only with experience. She has spoken openly over the years about mistakes in her early 20s, lessons learned in classrooms through Teach for America, and the quiet reshaping that motherhood brings. Her book club built a devoted community. Her interviews reveal empathy sharpened by lived experience. So when she chose to speak candidly about Savannah, it did not feel impulsive. It felt like a woman who understands timing and who knows that honesty, when delivered with care, can steady rather than shake. Savannah Guthrie. Strength under spotlight. At the center of the storm is Savannah Guthrie, a journalist whose career has long been defined by composure under pressure. From election nights to cultural flashpoints, she has maintained clarity and calm. But beyond the anchor desk, she is also a daughter navigating a deeply personal crisis. The disappearance of her mother has understandably changed the emotional temperature of everything around her. Viewers have noticed her measured statements and quiet resolve. Some interpret restraint as distance, others recognize it as strength. What Jenna's words seemed to underline is this: public steadiness does not erase private anguish. Sometimes it is simply the only way forward when the ground beneath you feels unsteady. The weight of shared history. Friendships forged in high-pressure environments often develop unusual depth. When Jenna joined the fourth hour in 2018, the show was already evolving. She and Savannah were not just co-workers trading segments. They were two women adjusting to new chapters simultaneously. Over time, their connection became visible in the glances between questions, the supportive laughter, the seamless handoffs. Off-camera moments matter too. Jenna alluded to a night years ago when both of them were confronting doubts, professional criticism, personal exhaustion, the silent expectations that trail women in media. Her reflection wasn't scandalous or explosive, it was human. She described seeing each other without polish, without performance. That kind of vulnerability builds something sturdier than ratings. It builds trust. The responsibility of going public. When personal reflections unfold on live television, intention matters. Jenna did not present secrets or accusations. She spoke about loyalty. She described Savannah as someone who had steadied her during moments of insecurity. She admitted that friendships, even strong ones, go through seasons of misunderstanding and recalibration. That is not unusual. It is honest. In times of crisis, the temptation to speculate is strong. Social media thrives on fragments and dramatic framing. But what aired that morning felt less like a revelation and more like reassurance. It was a reminder that behind polished broadcasts are women who argue, forgive, support, and sometimes simply sit in silence together. Growing up in public view. Both Jenna and Savannah understand what it means to live portions of life in public. Jenna grew up in the national spotlight as the daughter of a president. She has described the invisible crown of expectation that follows such a childhood. Savannah's path was different, but equally exposed, ascending through journalism while navigating personal milestones under media glare. That shared understanding may explain their empathy for one another. They know how narratives can outrun truth. They know how quickly headlines harden into assumptions. Jenna's decision to speak carefully rather than sensationally reflects that awareness. It suggested protection rather than provocation, loyalty rather than rivalry, grief, friendship, and timing. The question many viewers asked was simple: why now? In moments of public crisis, timing is scrutinized. Yet friendship rarely follows neat schedules. Sometimes speaking up is not about strategy, but solidarity. Savannah's absence from the set has been noticeable. Jenna stepping into the emotional gap, even briefly, may have been her way of saying, "You are not carrying this alone." There was no dramatic unveiling, no hidden letter or explosive confession. Instead, there was acknowledgement of shared humanity. In a media culture that often rewards extremes, quiet support can feel almost radical. It doesn't trend as loudly, but it lingers longer. The danger of filling in blank speculation thrives in silence. When details are limited, imaginations expand. But it is important to separate reflection from rumor. Jenna's words did not confirm hidden scandals or secret fractures. They highlighted growth, forgiveness, and the complexity of long-term friendship. In a moment when Savannah's family is facing real uncertainty, amplifying unverified narratives would only add noise. What matters most is compassion, for the individuals involved and for the process unfolding behind the scenes. Media stories can become echo chambers of conjecture. Choosing restraint, especially when emotions are high, honors both the friendship described and the seriousness of the broader situation. Women holding each other. Steady, one of the most powerful aspects of that broadcast was its subtle message about women supporting women. Jenna described Savannah as an anchor in her life during moments of drift. That metaphor resonated beyond television. Many viewers recognized their own friendships in that exchange. The late-night phone calls, the honest feedback, the gentle confrontations that ultimately strengthen bonds. Female friendships in midlife often deepen in ways younger years cannot sustain. They become less about proximity and more about presence. Jenna, at 44, speaking openly about gratitude rather than grievance, modeled a maturity that deserves acknowledgement. Choosing compassion over clicks in a media landscape eager for dramatic twists. It is tempting to frame every candid moment as a revelation. But sometimes the truest stories are quieter. A colleague expressing loyalty, a friend recalling shared vulnerability, a woman acknowledging that even strong bonds require work. As viewers, we can choose how we respond. We can amplify rumor, or we can honor the humanity in what was shared. At its core, this moment was not about ratings or rivalry. It was about two women who have walked through professional storms together and continue to show up for one another. And in uncertain times, that kind of steady presence may be the most meaningful truth of all.